Hey guys, it's Louis here from Singularity Film, and today we're going to be talking about interviewing lighting setups and how to achieve this cinematic interview look. If you're a full-time filmmaker, videographer or hobbyist, it's likely that you'll be required to film interviews or pieces to camera now and again, so it's worth knowing how to do it properly. Now, before we begin getting stuck into talking lighting, it's very important to take a few minutes to firstly assess your scene and find your frame. If you're shooting an interview in a building that has windows, consider what the natural light is doing and how it fills the room, as this could be the deciding factor as to where you decide to place your subject and how you light your scene. It's a good idea to use lighting to enhance and improve upon what is already happening in the scene rather than just compete against it. You also need to consider your foreground and your background. Think about any possible distractions in the background or foreground that could interrupt your viewer's attention, but also about objects that you could add into your scene to add interest. Also consider if you want your subject to have more interaction with the background or be separated from the background. So after you've found your scene, you know where you're going to be shooting and where you want your subject, you next need to consider how you're going to light it and how to achieve the look that you want. Now, if you have access to plenty of equipment and the ability to turn off the house lights or block windows, we'd recommend doing so you have complete control over your lighting setup. But this isn't always the case, and if you only have access to one or two lights, you may need to keep the building or room lights on and work with them. So how did we achieve this look? Typically for this sort of look, we start by setting up our key light. The key light is the main light, usually the brightest and the main one used to light our subject. In this instance, we're using the Aperture 300D Mark II. As a general rule of thumb, we'll set this up on about a 45-degree angle from our subject, as we want to create some contrast and texture on the subject's face. The next thing to do is to soften our light so it isn't too harsh. To do this, we're using a circular softbox with a honeycomb grid, but you can use a whole range of things to achieve a similar look, such as a white bed sheet, shower curtain, baking sheet, or you can always just bounce the light off something that's large and white, like a wall. As you can see, the key light creates a nice light across the face and a catch light in the eye, which helps to add some life into the shot. Next, we're going to add a fill light. The fill light is a less powerful light in comparison to the key light that sits on the opposite side of the frame. It's known as a fill light because it will literally fill in the high contrast shadows that the key light creates on a subject's face. After that, to achieve the look we're going for, we're going to add a hair light. Great interview lighting is always about creating depth. The hair light is one of the best ways to define your subject. It's placed high up behind the subject and is typically a harder light to define the details. Finally, we're going to add some practical lights into the background of the shot. Practical lights are lights that can help add interest into our frame and add more depth. And there we have it. Within the space of a couple of minutes, we've got a fantastic looking cinematic interview lighting setup. Now, if you're an aspiring filmmaker who might not necessarily have access to plenty of equipment, click here to see how we've achieved a similar look on a budget of just over £100. Thank you all very much for watching. If you like this video and it's helped you out, then please feel free to give it a like and a share with someone else who could benefit from seeing it. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.